So I moved out of my parents' house exactly 1 year ago, and 1 week before the move I made this lucky discovery in our basement while packing up all my stuff in big boxes. It was this beautiful medium format camera, the Voigtländer Bessa I, in factory new condition. Like for real, this example looks straight out of the factory. When I asked my dad about this camera, he was surprised too, and he had almost forgotten about it himself. But he told me that this camera belonged to my grandpa. And after further investigating the original packaging it was stored in all those decades now, I even found the original receipt of a German camera store in my dad's hometown Aalen. When I told my dad about how much it cost back then, he almost couldn't believe that my grandpa could afford this camera. He mentioned it never got used a lot, sadly, so I decided that this little beauty will be added to my camera collection, and I started to put a test roll of expired Kodak Portra black and white film through it, to see if it still works properly. So these past 6 to 7 months I brought this camera everywhere I went to take some portraits of my friends and family. I mean, what better way to start your medium format journey, right? So this camera works fully mechanical, no automatic settings whatsoever, not even a built-in rangefinder comes included in the sleek body. But luckily we live in a time where smartphones and light meter apps exist, and I even got lucky and found this external rangefinder that you can attach to the cold shoe of this camera to actually get a pretty decent focus reading. This external rangefinder was specifically made for the Voigtländer cameras back in the day, so it should work pretty accurate. So now that I got the light metering and focus issue solved, it was time to bring this baby out and take some portraits with it. The first picture that I took was of a close friend of mine. We've been knowing each other for over 10 years now, and we just like to hang out with each other, cook some delicious meal and make some music together in his tiny studio room. So I thought it would be the perfect location to take a portrait of him in front of all his music gear.
Sehe ich gut aus, Mario?
Extrem. Das ist nice.
Boah, die scheppert, Alter. Geil.
Mach ich auch wieder diesen Release, ne? Cable Release.
As you can see, it takes a lot of preparation to get your camera ready to shoot. You really gotta think of so many variables so you don't mess up the shot. But to be honest, I really fell in love with this process. Slowing down like this really makes you become mindful and makes you enjoy the process even more. And if you then get results back that turned out beautifully, it's a really nice extra and a really great feeling reward. I'm happy how this first portrait turned out, and I'm glad this over 10-year-old expired film really held up well. This simple but effective composition works, and I like how you can still see the plant and all his music gear in the back. Focus is almost perfect, not really spot on, but more than usable. It's good to see that the external rangefinder still works properly, and let me tell you, it was really helping me to find spot on focus with these wide open aperture situations. The same evening we went to see my group of friends in their studio, so I decided to take a group picture of them all. So here I went again for the same procedure, set up the tripod, get the framing right, focus reading and transferring that onto the lens. And then, last but not least, measure the light with my phone light meter app to get the proper exposure right. By the way, speaking of exposure, because this film is expired more than 10 years ago, I decided to overexpose this film by one stop, which basically just means I'm taking the light meter reading with 200 ISO instead of the box speed of 400 ISO. As a rule of thumb, you can always add one stop per decade that the film has been expired. And as you can see, this method worked great in this case.
Das war's schon mal.
Geil.
But well, here you can see the biggest flaw of this camera, which is the teeny tiny small viewfinder, which sadly doesn't seem to be too accurate as well. And on top of that, at the point of this video clip, it was pretty fogged up because of it laying around for over 20 to 30 years ago in the dusty basement. So that's why the next day I decided to crack this bad boy open and try to clean the viewfinder. Since I've been opening many film cameras before, especially rangefinder style cameras, I was pretty confident I could fix this up really easily. And when I open it up, it's really as simple as it gets. It's just a front and rear glass element, which I just cleaned off with some Q-tips and some cleaning alcohol. And there we have it, nice and crisp sharp image through the viewfinder again. This was a huge relief, but still the accuracy of the viewfinder is not the best, which we will see in some of the next frames in this video. So with this last issue fixed, it was finally time to finish this roll with no major issues in my way. So on my next visit to my beloved friends, I once again took my now beloved Voigtländer Bessa I with me. This time I also came prepared and brought a small LED light with me just to be able to fill out some shadows in their faces, and it worked pretty well and was pretty easy to set up.
Ich wäre was für eine Kategorie. Du musst 2 Sekunden stillhalten. Okay. Max aber auch, sonst kann ich mich nicht konzentrieren. Oh mein Gott, ist das geil. Jetzt sind wir schon fast soweit. Ja. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Ein Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Das war's.
Once again, this portrait turned out nicely. Still the focus is a little off, but that's the whole point of this test roll, to understand how this camera with its little quirks and workarounds works best. So I definitely gonna take better care of the focus reading and probably gonna focus a tiny bit further than what the external rangefinder is telling me to get pinpoint focus. I could also just stop down the aperture, but for taking portraits with 120 film, I think the wide open aperture plays a huge part of this unique look. So for this next picture I got a little more creative and placed my friend in between his Warhammer figures, which turned out pretty interesting and hilarious at the same time.
Irgendwo herkrieg.
Dann hast du schon gute Kontakte. Zack. Okay.
In this case, I actually think a closed down aperture would have improved the shot overall, because then it would reveal more details of the fore and background with all these Warhammer figures standing around. But I still really love the result. So once again, nice portrait, but the focus sadly is slightly off again. Next time I really gotta concentrate on focusing better. This day turned out to be a really productive day in meeting my friends and taking their photograph. I visited my friend in his iconic gaming room, where I wanted to capture his newly added controller stand. I love how this one turned out. It has this great composition, and this time I even managed to get the focus just about right. At least 3 more months passed by for the next portrait to happen. But this is the beauty of film, in my opinion. You capture images that you always forgot you've been taken, and 6 months later, when you develop the film, you get a big surprise. Here we went on a relaxing walk in nature with my best friend and his fiancée. We came across this small bridge with this Japanese style roof in the background, which made the perfect spot for another portrait.
Around here.
The exposure and composition worked great once again, but sadly I missed focus again, and this time it's a bit too far off. Overall, I still really enjoy the composition with the leading lines and the subframe and the interesting background. Would be even worth to come back to this place and try again. Then it was time to take some lovely pictures of my girlfriend, so we went on a walk in the nearby park. The sun was creating this nice patch of light, so I took the opportunity and set up the camera. Because of the clouds, we had to wait till the light was coming back. And this scene I made the first mistake in terms of exposure. I completely forgot to set the right shutter speed. But luckily I realized that before it was too late, and I was able to take a second shot. This one turned out way better than the first one, where I messed up the settings, but it still looks slightly underexposed now. The stressy situation combined with constantly changing light wasn't ideal for this camera setup. You really need to be able to take your time with this one, because all settings have to be taken care of step by step. First you measure the light, then you find the composition, and then you find the perfect focus. So it's obviously not the first pick for some faster paced style of photography like street photography, for example. Although I could imagine that zone focusing this camera and using Sunny 16 for metering could work pretty well. Maybe that's something for a future video. So in this scene I tried a different approach by being more far away from the subject. tried to place her in front of the negative space of the sky, but somehow the composition that was taken onto the film didn't quite match up what I was seeing on the viewfinder. And that's once again because of one tiny detail that I didn't think about and messed up again. So this camera specifically is great because you can choose if you want to shoot full 6x7 frames or how I did with 6x5 frames by putting on a mask before loading the camera. The camera then lets you switch between different viewfinder masks, and I didn't think of changing it to the 6x5 infinity setting, which led to this slight change of her placement in the frame. Well, at least I learned something new again that is crucial to get perfect results with this camera, and next time I'm gonna be prepared for sure. On the way back to the train station, I also took a quick shot of her, and this one turned out surprisingly good, and it's probably one of my favorite shots of this roll. The focus, composition and exposure are spot on, just how I wanted to shoot this scene. So finally, no unexpected surprises this time. So with this last shot taken, it was finally time to unload my first roll of medium format film. Let me tell you, I was quite excited but still a bit nervous as well, because it just works differently than the normal 35mm film. It still worked out properly, and for safety reasons I put on a rubber band as well, just to be safe that there's no light leaks coming onto the film. And then it was just about waiting for the lab to develop the film, and then I could scan it as home on my DSLR scanning setup. I scanned all those shots with my Sony a7 III and some extension tubes. So in conclusion, this camera really made me appreciate the process behind it. It slows you down and makes you use your brain cells to not mess up the shot. And by that you can really improve your skills as a photographer. It's also so much fun to just go out with this camera and capture some lovely memories with your friends. And if you get really lucky or just really good at not messing up, this lens is really capable of producing some lovely images. So if you decided to try out medium format film photography for yourself now, I highly recommend you to get a folding camera like this one. But maybe get one with at least a built-in rangefinder that's coupled to the lens. This will make your life a whole lot easier and will ensure that your expensive 120 film frames are not going to be wasted because you missed the focus on them. But since this camera has a high sentimental value for me, I'm gonna keep it and keep shooting with it as well. Since it belonged to my grandpa, it really has a special place in my heart. I'm just gonna try to improve those little mistakes that I made on this first roll of film and hopefully get better results with the next roll. If you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you. It would help me out a lot if you subscribe to my channel, and maybe we see each other in the next video. Till then, see you soon.